What's good, YouTube, and welcome to Raise the Flags in the Arena. It's here, our first Thursday episode of the season. Today we are going to be talking about and predicting American indoor football. Their season starts tomorrow at 7 p.m. I believe the game will be on YouTube, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That's going to be a fun game. I can't wait to watch that game. So today we're going to be diving into a little bit of history on the American indoor football, along with predicting the season standings and playoff game, championship game, whatever they're going to do for that. And we're also going to be predicting tomorrow's game between the West Michigan Ironmen and the Coralville Chaos. Now, if you've been watching YouTube for more than a day, I have a feeling you already know that I want you to like and subscribe, so I'm not going to ask you to do that. Just do it. And with that, let's dive right into American indoor football. So what I'm going to do with all of these leagues that I'm going to be talking about on this channel is on whatever their designated preview, prediction, whatever you want to call it, video is. I'm going to give a little bit of a history lesson on that league, so that you guys know a little bit of the backstory on the league, of what's led up to this season, how we got here, stuff like that. And then I'm going to give my predictions for this standings, my predictions for the final standings of the season. Who do I think is going to be good in this league? Who do I think is not going to be good? Who do I think is going to win the championship? So on and so forth. So yeah, let's get into it. So the AIF has its roots all the way back to a league that began in 2005, the Atlantic Indoor Football League, which had 6 teams: the Erie Freeze, the Richmond Bandits, the Johnston Riverhawks, the Canton Legends, the Raleigh Rebels, and the Greensboro Ghost Riders. And overall, the league wasn't too successful in 2005. If you've never heard of any of these teams, I don't blame you. I believe none of these teams are still around today. The season was shortened, and 2 teams had to play away games only because of the league's inability to secure home venues. However, around this time, the National Indoor Football League, which was in the 2000s, there were 3 major indoor football leagues. You had the Arena Football League, you had the AFL's minor league, sort of, Arena Football 2, and you had the National Indoor Football League. And those were the 3 major arena/indoor football leagues in the 2000s. And the National Indoor Football League, however, around this time was beginning to fizzle out. They weren't really gaining much traction. They weren't getting the attention that the AFL and the AF2 were getting. And teams were starting to leave the league to go off on their own. They had lost 2 former champions in 2004 and 2006 to new leagues. And because of this, the Atlantic Indoor Football League would take advantage, adding the Rome Renegades from the NIFL. They also added 9 brand new expansion teams for the 2006 season. In that season, 2 teams of the league folded, and the league's ownership bounced around throughout the season. And the season as a whole was an absolute mess. Maybe one of the worst seasons in AIF history. After the season, 9 teams left to form the short-lived World Indoor Football League. Jim Morris and Michael Mink would take over the league after this, and they restructured the league so it could be a bit more stable of a league. They renamed the new look league as the American Indoor Football Association, which would be the predecessor to American Indoor Football. The AIFA's first year was in 2007, and it was very successful when you take into account this was the first time in league history, including the AIFL and the AIFA, that every single game that was scheduled was played, No teams folded or dropped out mid-season. Everything ran smoothly. No games were canceled. No replacement opponents were put into games for teams that folded. The whole season in the playoffs were very smooth, with the Lakeland Thunderbolts knocking off the Reading Express to win the third American Bowl. The Canton Legends were champions in 2006, with the Richmond Bandits grabbing the inaugural title in 2005. The game was technically called the AIFA Championship Bowl from 2007 to 2010. So American Bowls 2 through 7, I believe, at the time that they were played, were called AIFA Championship Bowls 1 through 5. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong on that, and my numbers could be a little off. But the AIFA Championship Bowl history is now considered the American Bowl. All of the AIFA Championship Bowls are American Bowls. The league held its All-Star game and its championship game in Florence, South Carolina, in an attempt to televise the game so the league could gain more national recognition. And this worked very well. The AIFA would go on to expand nationwide, with some teams even managing to sign former NFL players. The only two leagues other than this that were doing that was the AFL and the AF2. And the AIFA was now considered to be on par with the AF2, which was the second biggest league in arena/indoor football at the time. The league would soon sign TV deals with Simply Me TV and the FSN Pittsburgh, further increasing the league's exposure. A few teams, including the defending champion Thunderbolts, left the league, but several new teams were added to create a brand new Western Conference for the league, as the league was now less of an Atlantic Eastern side of the U.S.-based league and more of a national sort of like all-American league. And things would continue to trend upwards for the league in 2008 and 2009, with the Florence Phantoms and the Reading Express each defeating the Wyoming Cavalry in back-to-back years to secure titles. In 2010, the Baltimore Mariners would finish undefeated, 14-0 in the regular season, and go on to win American Bowl 6, which was AIFA Championship Bowl 4 at the time. And after this season, the AIFA would split, with Morris taking over the Eastern Conference and Mink claiming the West. Morris's conference would leave the AIFA and merge with the Southern Indoor Football League, while Mink's Western Conference would remain in the AIFA. But the AIFA was now left with only 4 teams: the Stockton Wolves, the Reno Barons, the Yakima Valley Warriors, and the Tucson Thundercats. However, Tucson would suspend operations until 2012. The league planned to replace them by adding a 4th team in Eugene, Oregon, but these plans fell through as well. And because of this, the Barons and the Wolves did not want to continue playing in such an unstable league. They left to form their own league, the Western Indoor Football Association, and they played mainly each other, but they also played a select group of whatever independent teams would agree to play them. The league would cancel its 2011 season, now having only one team, that being the Yakima Valley Warriors. They plan to relaunch, however, in 2012 with 12 teams. And in October 2011, the league would announce its official relaunch, dropping the association from their name, officially being just called American Indoor Football. And the league would attempt to add the 3 remaining teams from the Southern Indoor Football League when it split into 2 separate leagues. It split into, I believe, the Professional Indoor Football League and the Lone Star Football League, and there were 3 teams from the SIFL, the Carolina Speed, the Harrisburg Stampede, and the Trenton Steel, that did not join either of these leagues, and the AIF would instead add these teams along with the 4 planned AIFA West teams from 2011, those 4 original teams, not the Eugene, Oregon team, but the other 4 teams that were originally planned to be in the AIFA in 2011. And things continued pretty well for the AIF. They played, I believe, 4 seasons under this format. Things ran pretty well. However, in 2015, they would add the Saginaw Sting and the Chicago Blitz from the defunct Continental Indoor Football League. One thing that I noticed when I was doing my research for this video, there was this trend in indoor football from about 2000 to about 2017, 2018, that was to pick a random word and put it in front of the words Indoor Football League, and there's your league name. You had the National Indoor Football League, the American Indoor Football League, the World Indoor Football League, the Continental Indoor Football League. You had the Supreme Indoor Football League, the Southern Indoor Football League, the Atlantic Indoor Football League, the Can-Am Indoor Football League. There are probably a ton more that I didn't just list. It was a very weird trend. Apparently that trend has been replaced by adding something before the words Arena League. And you have the National Arena League, the Arena League, and the American Arena League. So anyway, the league would split into an American conference and a Continental Conference. Continental Conference was obviously to pay homage to the CIFL, and the Sting and Blitz were both in that conference. And after the 2015 season, the conferences were renamed to the Northern Conference and the Southern Conference for the 2016 season, which would ultimately be the AIF's final season for 8 years. In 2016, the Lions of Columbus, Georgia would capture the American Bowl title in 2016 before leaving the AIF due to the league once again being pretty unstable. A lot of teams came and went throughout the years of the AIF. And I do believe that there are really 2 routes you can take if you're an indoor football league. One of these routes is to only add stable teams that you know have strong backing and you know have strong support financially for, so that the teams will be sticking around for a while. And the other route is to just add whatever teams you can get to join the league. But then the league looks a lot less stable, a lot less organized, everything like that. So I do firmly believe that the reason that the Indoor Football League, the IFL, is now the cream of the crop in the arena/indoor football world, and it is because they have mostly just focused on being stable, adding stable, well-run franchises to their league, so that teams aren't dropping out. Really, the only change in the IFL landscape, other than recently, is just expansion teams. Recently, they did have 3 or 4 teams go inactive, but they will likely be returning in the near future. So anyway, back to what we were talking about before I did what I'm very good at and got sidetracked. So the Lions left the AIF because the AIF was very unstable, and they would leave to form what would eventually become the National Arena League. Originally was called the the Arena Developmental League, I believe was its original name, but it decided to change its name to the National Arena League before it ever played a snap. Several other AIF teams left for the NAL, and Morris eventually decided that the league was going to suspend operations following the 2016 season. The Buffalo Blitz, the West Michigan Ironmen, and the Vermont Bucks would all leave for the Can-Am Indoor Football League, which would eventually join as part of the American Arena League, and the AIF would stay pretty quiet and unheard from until late 2023 when Jim Morris announced the league's return. The Cedar Rapids River Kings, the River City Rage, the Corpus Christi Tritons, and the West Virginia Miners were announced as the first 4 teams to join onto the league. With the Arabella Venom, Harrisburg Stampede, and Columbus Lions also later announced to be rejoining the league for the team, along with expansion teams in Albany, Georgia, and Beaumont, Texas, to bring the league to a planned 9 teams for the 2024 AIF season. However, the Albany, Georgia team never materialized, and the Beaumont Renegades, they decided to play an independent schedule in 2024 and plan to join the league in full as a full member in 2025. The Miners and River Kings would both leave throughout the course of the season due to ownership disputes, and the Rage would also cancel their 2024 season due to not being able to secure an arena because there were so many other teams in their area in American/indoor football. I do firmly believe that the 2 capitals of the arena indoor football landscape are Arizona and Iowa. They by far have the most teams, and 2 of the most famous teams in the world, the Iowa Barnstormers and the Arizona Rattlers. So 2 very big arena football states. Eventually, the River City Rage would move to Coralville and change their name to Chaos towards the end of March 2024. Morris would resign from the AIF after the season ended, and all AIF teams left for the National Arena League, making it look like this return of the AIF was just a one-time, one-year thing. The Venom, now known as the Dusters, the Lions, the Stampede, the Tritons, and the Bandits all announced their expansion into the NIL. The Stampede would shortly thereafter fold, I believe due to money issues, and the Tritons and Dusters were both kicked out of the NAL for not paying. Oh my goodness, I cannot talk right now. They were kicked out of the NAL for not paying league dues. The Tritons would go on to join the brand new AF1. In my opinion, that would be the right move if the Dusters would do the same thing, but I don't think anything's been announced yet, and I honestly don't think it will. Eventually, Dominic Montero, the owner of the River Kings, along with his business partner Larry Clark, would gain rights to the defunct American Indoor Football and create a 3rd version of the league. Montero would also take over the Coralville Chaos, and adding both of the teams he owned, the River Kings and the Chaos, to the new AIF. And the league would also expand to Muskegon, Michigan, adding the West Michigan Ironmen, one of the teams that played in 2016 as an expansion team. And they created a short in-league schedule. I believe there's like 4 to 6 games in-league opponents for each team. The league also heavily encourages their teams to play against other independent teams and teams from other leagues, which all teams play, I believe, 2 to 3 games against non-AIF opponents. The league is scheduled to kick off their season tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Happy early Valentine's Day, by the way, when the Coralville Chaos will travel to Muskegon to battle the Ironmen. So yeah, I can't wait. It's the first arena game of the season. Very exciting there. Can't wait to see how the season kicks off, who is going to win the first game of the year. That is the Raise the Flags game of the week, the West Michigan Ironmen, the Coralville Chaos, Muskegon, Michigan tomorrow, 7 p.m. I believe it's on YouTube. In my prediction for that game, we're going to get into talking just about the game tomorrow, and then we'll be talking about the league as a whole afterwards, and my predictions for this year's league. So, my prediction for tomorrow is the West Michigan Ironmen knocking off the Coralville Chaos to start the season off on the right note, 27-19, my predicted final score. So I cannot wait for the season to officially get underway tomorrow night. But anyway, so now we get to why we're here. It took a while to get there, but the AIF, my projected AIF standings for this arena football season. In third place, I have the Coralville Chaos. Originally, I thought that they were just an expansion team coming into the league. I didn't know that they did have a history as the River City Rage. And the Rage have been very successful throughout their franchise history. I believe they've played in multiple IFL championship games, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But the Chaos, they haven't played an actual season in so long that I just don't know if they're going to be able to get good players in enough time to be able to compete with the Ironmen and the River Kings, which have been arguably the two best non-Big Three teams for the past, half decade to decade. Cedar Rapids River Kings, I believe, are a former IFL team. They left the league, obviously. They've played in the AIF in the past as well. And then the Ironmen, they got their start in the AIF in 2016 before the league folded. They joined American Arena League shortly after that. They were pretty successful there. And after that, they left to form their own league, the Great Lakes Arena Football, which was pretty much ran by the Ironmen, and it was pretty much meant to be like a bus league where you just wasn't that far to travel for any of the teams. They had teams in Michigan and Ohio were the main two states. I believe there was also random teams in like Illinois and Indiana and stuff like that. But they would leave that league after the 2024 season because really none of the other teams that were going to be sticking around in the league for 2025 were that stable of teams. And teams such as the Michigan Avengers would leave for leagues like the American Arena League and United Indoor Football Association, which we will be talking about in a little bit. I've been trying to find whatever info I could on the United Indoor Football Association, and I've gone pretty much clicked on everything you can on their website. There's not much to find, so hopefully they release more stuff soon. Hopefully the AAL does as well, because I believe they're rebranding. But anyway, once again, I'm getting off topic. I will be talking about the AAL at the end of this video, just because there isn't really a much better time to do it than now, with the AIF having only 3 teams. But anyway, in second place for the AIF, my prediction is the West Michigan Ironmen. I think there's no doubt that the River Kings are the most experienced team and thus the heavy favorite to win this league this year. I would honestly be pretty surprised if the Ironmen or the Chaos won the American Bowl this year, despite the success that both teams have had in their past. I think the Ironmen are going to do pretty well. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ironmen win all of their games that aren't against the River Kings. I wouldn't even be surprised if they beat the River Kings once. They do have that game, I believe it's on February 22nd, upcoming against the Cedar Rapids River Kings, so that's going to be a good game. They're also on the Raise the Flags Game of the Week this week against the Coralville Chaos. So I'm expecting some success from the West Michigan Ironmen this year. I don't think they'll go all the way. I don't think they'll win the title. I think that's going to go to my number one prediction, the Cedar Rapids River Kings. Like I've said, they are a very storied and experienced franchise. One of the most historical franchises in arena/indoor football. I'm not sure who's older out of them or the Chaos. Not that matters, but I just think that the River Kings are more of a established team than both the Ironmen and the Chaos. And the River Kings, I think, are going to be clearly head and shoulders above the Ironmen and above the Chaos this season. So my prediction is that the River Kings are going to beat the Ironmen in the American Bowl. However we get there, if they decide to do a semifinal game between the third place team and the second place team, if they don't, they just take the top two teams to the American Bowl. Either way, I think it's going to be the same. So yeah, that's going to do it for American indoor football. So now what I'm going to do for the rest of this video is talk about the American Arena League, because that league, it's an amateur league that it's had some ups and downs. It's actually rebranded in recent years to American Arena League 2. So they have 12 teams planned for the 2025 season. They have 12 teams that are members of the league. You have the New York Smash, the New Jersey Bearcats, the Carolina Predators, the Georgia Indians, the Tri-City River Gators, the Steel City Stampede, Pittsburgh Outlaws, the Michigan Avengers, the Mississippi Wolfpack, the Maryland War Eagles, the Ohio Elite, and the New Jersey Roughnecks. I don't know much about many of these teams. I know that the Michigan Avengers play in Farmington, Michigan. That's about it. I've been trying to find more, but when your league's website has less information on you than Wikipedia does, that's kind of hard to do. So I believe that they still haven't figured everything out yet for this season. They haven't released a schedule or anything like that to this point. So I'm pretty sure they are trying to rebrand the league, maybe take the 2 out of there, which I believe could be very good for them. Just call yourselves the American Arena League. There's no point in having the 2 in there. It makes no sense to me. But yeah, so I will keep y'all updated when there is more information on the AAL2. But the final thing that I want to do today is predict the other 3-team league that it is confirmed that they are playing, and that is the National Football Association's National Indoor Football Branch. The NFA has 3 indoor football teams set for this season. You have the Dallas Falcons, the Dallas Kings, and the Waco Tornadoes. They have a planned expansion team for 2026 in the Texas Hotshots. It's kind of hard to find much history on the National Indoor Football of National Football Association. I'm not really sure what to call this because it says both things on their website. But yeah, so my predicted standings for this league: the Dallas Falcons coming in first. We're doing reverse order this time from what we're normally going to do, starting at the bottom and going up to the top. The Dallas Falcons are my prediction to take first. They're the main established franchise of these 3 teams. They played a game last year. They got a lot of publicity for it against the Louisiana Voodoo. They were stepping in for the Philadelphia Soul. After the team, there was a mass firing of all the players of the team in the absolutely chaotic Arena Football League season of 2024. We're going to get more in-depth into that season on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about the Arena Football League, about Arena Football 2, and about Arena Football 1, and we're going to be making our Arena Football 1 predictions. So that's going to be fun. Don't miss that on Tuesday. The Falcons, they do have a big game to kick off their season out of league. They will be playing the Shreveport Rougarou. This league also has 2 games for each team against in-league opponents. They also seemingly made a deal with the independent Collin County Crash to have the Crash play each of the teams in their league. So that benefits both teams, gets an extra game on the schedule for the Falcons, Kings, and Tornadoes, and just helps the Crash to be able to schedule games, because it's very hard to get games when you're an independent team in arena/indoor football. So I got the Falcons at first. I don't think they're going to win against the Rougarou. That is going to be the Raise the Flags game of the week for next week, the Rougarou and the Falcons. In second place, I have the Waco Tornadoes. Not for really much of a reason. I don't have much of a reason for the Tornadoes over the Kings. For that, I'm just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. My main reason for picking the Tornadoes over the Kings is that I don't think the 2 Dallas teams are both going to be the top 2. And if the Dallas Falcons, which is clearly the established main player, the main franchise in the National Football Association's National Indoor Football, that the Falcons are going to probably dominate this league. I wouldn't be surprised if, looking at their schedule, they go 5-1, the Falcons, with their only loss being to the Rougarou. But I can't wait to see what happens between the Tornadoes and the Kings, who take second in this league. Can any of them upset the Falcons and take the league title? But that is going to do it for today. Thank you for watching Raise the Flags in the Arena. Please remember to like and subscribe, and always raise the flags. Goodbye.